Good morning. It's really nice to be back. We were here for the last Dart Summit about a year ago, year and a half now. And yeah, we got all sorts of cool stuff to show you today. So my name, if you don't know me, is Eric Seidel. I'm the manager of the Flutter project at Google. And if you haven't heard of Flutter, well, we do what it says on the tin. We help you build beautiful, fast apps for iOS and Android. And I think we just get right into it. So we started out with this mission, to build a better way to develop for mobile. And you might ask yourself, why? Well, why would we need or want to do that? And some of it comes because much of my team did mobile development themselves, wrote apps themselves, before coming to Flutter. And as we were starting out, we talked to a bunch of other mobile devs, both inside and outside of Google, and we kept hearing sort of the same refrains. The most common complaint that we heard was that folks have trouble with mobile, that mobile is expensive to them because they have to learn 2 systems, 2 languages, 2 frameworks deployed to 2 different kinds of devices, and they end up building 2 teams, or 3 teams if you end up building for the mobile web, or not including, of course, your desktop and other web teams. And you end up then with this disparate feature sets. So your iOS version does one thing, and your Android version does another, and your users end up confused. Another complaint that we heard was that even just developing for mobile, depending on what you're using, can be slow. We heard cycle times inside Google ranging from a minute to tens of minutes, to we heard about clean builds that were over an hour. And this can be obviously expensive. And it's also, your user expectations on mobile are higher than they were on desktop, than they were on the web. They expect you to stick to their finger. You expect the app to dance underneath you. And to do that sort of delightful can be hard. And then, of course, you have to do it twice. And finally, we talked to a bunch of teams and asked them about whether they were using existing cross-platform solutions. And some of them had tried them. But the feedback we got there was that they weren't willing to accept the compromises. And they listed things like compromises in performance, compromises in being able to meet their design expectations, or compromises in terms of reaching their user expectations, the expected feel. And so with this information, we thought to ourselves, I mean, come on, we had done lots of various other development. We knew that there must be a better way. We felt that you should be able to build a single unified team, where you have one team where you can send all your code reviews. One single code base. You should be able to build features only once and make them maybe twice as beautiful with twice the people. That custom could and should be easy. And that once you've done your awesome custom branded thing, it should be portable. And then finally, that dev cycles could be fast. I mean, we had this on the web, right? We have sub-second dev cycles for some configurations. Why can't we do that on mobile? And so we set out to build something. And, well, we built some cool stuff. So I want to show you. And I'm going to start moving to this device here. And so what I have in front of you, as it boots up, there we go. What I have in front of you today is an iOS and Android app on which I've installed, an iOS and Android phone, not particularly new phones, on which I've installed one of our demo apps, the Flutter Gallery. We built this to show off all the widgets that we've built for Google Teams. And the first thing that you'll notice is it's fast. You may not have even noticed that, or you may not have even seen it was so fast, but it just, boom, right back up. It's fast, it sticks to your finger, it scrolls, the animations are smooth. The next thing you might notice is that it's pretty. Like, the text is pretty on both iOS and Android, different, fonts. The animations are pretty. The widget sets are pretty. You get a ton of widgets just out of the box. And then, of course, one thing you'll also notice is that it should feel natural. Like, it does the bounce on iOS. It does the overscroll on Android. The iconography is different, as you would expect. And even the gestures are different. But there's one more thing, which is particularly applicable to this crowd, in that everything you've seen so far, every pixel, every widget, every gesture, even the compositor and the text editing, is all Dart. So let's go back to the slides, and we can talk a little more. Ta-da! So, what did we just see? So hopefully you got to see, well, first of all, that Flutter is real. It's a thing. It exists. It's fast. It, again, scrolls fast. It animates smoothly. It responds to your finger. It should be pretty. It's beautiful. It has tons of beautiful widgets built in. It does animations easily. And it should feel natural and be natural. We believe strongly that you should come to the user. You should match their expectations. That if their thumb has some muscle memory about what to do, that's what your app should do. And so we embrace that with Flutter. That you're not writing one least common denominator app, but rather you're writing the app that fits the user's expectations of the device that it's installed on. So we're obviously not the first to think about cross-platform. There's many others in this space. But I do think that there's a bunch of insights that we had, some things that we chose to do differently, that I think do make us special. And the first that I want to talk about is actually how we went about building this. So when we went to build this, we went looking around for what is the technology stack that a better cross-platform solution should be built on. And we were perhaps a little bit surprised that it was all just lying right in front of us. But the difficulty was that these awesome pieces of technology were actually buried deep in other platforms, buried under layers and layers and layers of legacy and tons of features that either didn't matter on mobile or they didn't need anymore. And so we went digging for quite a while. We went mining in the hills. And I think we pulled out a bunch of really nice golden nuggets. And this matters to you because this is battle-hardened software. This is not, a from green implementation. This is just the slimmed down and awesomest versions of the platforms that you already know and love. So like we took some of our graphics stack from Chrome, some of our graphics stack from Android. We took a bunch of our text from WebKit and Chrome, but way, way, way slimmed down as opposed to what is in those platforms. And of course, we actually started on a totally different language. That didn't work out so well. We tried a couple other languages. Those didn't work out so well, and went on a rather long search in which we found eventually Dart. And we use an even slightly slimmed down version of Dart inside our executable. So the second insight that we had in building this was that we learned that other platforms that have these expansive APIs, particularly these cross-platform, these expansive API surfaces that are often least common denominator, and that are all packed inside the engine itself, down below the widgets. Other platforms often are like icebergs. You see and deal with the top little level widget layer, but there's so much buried under the surface. We tried to invert that with Flutter. And this matters to you because it means it puts you way more in control. We found that Dev cared about the fact that we had shoved all of our interesting code up into the framework layer, which meant even things that you might not have expected here, like editing and our gesture detection and our compositor, et cetera. It's all up at the framework layer, which means that you can jump to definition all the way down, see exactly what we've done. Fork, change, you're in full control. And due to the beauty of Dart and Dart's ability to tree shake, you only pay for what you use. So another insight that we had in building this was that modern mobile OSs don't necessarily need to ship a UI framework. They do today, obviously, but we've seen success on desktop, we've seen success on the web, that many applications ship beautiful apps bundling their own. And the same is now true on mobile. You see this all over the place with games. No game uses the built onto the ROM system. There is no built onto the ROM system for games. They all bring their own beautiful engine and do amazing experiences with that. And we found that there was an advantage to doing the same on mobile. And why this matters, or to doing the same for apps. And why this matters to you is that it puts you, again, more in control. You can deploy way back in time to older phones, to older OSs. When the tides change and you want to change your look and feel, you don't have to wait for your users to upgrade. so you can use the latest widget. You just push them a new version that you compiled yourself. The next insight we had was less about technology and more about market shift. We looked at what people were doing on mobile. We looked at what the best apps were. What were the apps that were winning awards? What were the apps that users were downloading? And it turns out there's a lot of custom. And this is a growing segment we see. The best-in-class user experiences are bespoke experiences that are very brand-forward, very custom. And so we decided that we wanted to target this, that we wanted to build a system that was designed to make this easy. And the value for you is obviously if it does make it easy, you can do more of this yourself. So let's go back to that demo. And I want to show you that same demo, but now with a different understanding. So this time we only need to use the Android phone. So go ahead and launch the gallery again. So now you understand, again, that all of this is Dart. Everything you see, everything you feel is all Dart. And one of the cool things you can do, or something I'm here to do to illustrate how custom this really is that there's this little debugging feature we have where we can change what the framework thinks it's running on. And I can tell the framework you're running on iOS. And now magically you have different scroll physics. You have a bounce. You have different iconography. And you have cool gestures. And I'm not telling you that you would ever want to ship this. Because again, we believe in coming to the user and matching their expectations. But what this is an illustration to you of how much control you have. If you want to have a back shimmy, go for it. The entire gesture detector is yours to control. So let's go do our little shimmy between devices again. Go back to the slides. So that was our demos. We are at a developer conference, so we should talk a little bit about development. I think maybe we should show you what it's like to develop a Flutter app. So let's go ahead and bust out IntelliJ, which is a popular editor at Google. There's many editors that you can write Flutter code in, but this one happens to be nice. So let's go ahead and create a new project. And we also have a Flutter plugin for IntelliJ, actually just released last night, which makes some of this easier. So we go to Flutter, and let's make a totally RAD demo. We'll call it RAD Demo. And what's happening there is that it is going off and telling the Flutter tooling to go create the underlying Xcode project, create the underlying Android build setup, and dump you a very small little Flutter app. And so now we have our little 70-line demo Flutter app, most of which is comments, which we just click the Run button. And it again tells the Flutter tooling, go run this on some connected device. IntelliJ doesn't have to know. And Flutter, of course, abstracts you away from the idea of, is this Android or is this iOS? It's just a mobile thing to you. But the mobile thing we're going to run on today is this iOS simulator here. So here we have, whatever that was, 90 seconds in, we have running on iOS and Android our very first Flutter app. And it just has a little counter, clicks the button, creases. But we can make this fancier, and that's what I actually want to show you. So say we don't like blue because we like green instead. We'll just change it. Maybe my designer likes orange today. I'll go back to green. Yeah, so we measure our development cycle in milliseconds. And you'll notice that we never lost any state. We still tap the button 7 times. Our app is still running.
But we can do more complicated things. So say we want to change this text. Maybe this is touched. We update the text. You see, of course, it changes. Maybe we want to change this center to, we can make this a column. We run it. Whoops. We made an error. We can see it in IntelliJ. It tells us it's underlining this child, saying that is not a valid parameter for column. And Flutter took the reload, but it's like, I don't know what to do. No, I could go read the docs to remember what column does, or I could just click on column. Because again, all of our code is up in Dart. You can just keep clicking all the way down. We can go read and say, oh, column takes children, not child, of course. So we change this to children. And now it's still mad at us. The analyzer is still giving us little red squiggles, which we're used to in Dart. So let's change this to be an array. I think that's the one I wanted. And then we can, of course, reformat it. And we run it again. And we've still touched it 7 times. We fixed our error. So let's go ahead and add some more text, because why not? New text. Demos are fun. And now we have 2 lines of text. We could maybe change the spacing. Right on this, we could do main axis alignment, spread evenly, space evenly. Sure, great. Now they're all spaced out. We could do something a little more exciting. We can do like new Flutter logo. Oh, that's too small. We'll fix the size. There we go. Hey, well, maybe we'll change the color. Whoops. Colors. There you go. So, obviously, you could build much more complicated things than that. But that's what Flutter development is. And here again, it took us 2 minutes to do this tiny little pretty app. But I want to show you more than just IntelliJ, because maybe you don't like working in an IDE. That's fine. Some of my team work in Emacs or Vim. So just like our framework is layered, heavily layered, we also have done our tools in layers. So we can pull out a command line. And let's up the size a little bit. And we have a little Flutter tool, which spews all the commands that it supports. The Flutter tool abstracts away the idea of mobile. So you don't have to care about iOS or Android. It just handles the details for you. So if we connect our Android device here, this is our physical device we were just using, and we say type Flutter devices. Flutter now shows this both, of course. We also have some other fun commands in here, like you can take screenshots and do performance profiling and debugging and all that stuff, all from the command line. We can do Flutter Doctor. Flutter Doctor is something that we built because we found our customers had some trouble getting all the various pieces of mobile development set up. So we wrote a little helper to help them know how to walk through the steps and verify if their environment was set up correctly. But so we can go back to our demo that we built, right? So we wrote this RAD demo. Oops. And we can just Flutter run it. Let's do it in release mode, so we can use Dart's AOT, and we'll do it on our Nexus device. And so while that goes ahead and builds, I'm going to go ahead and swap back over. So right now, Flutter is talking to the underlying tool chain, and it goes and gets itself a donut or whatever the tool chain does. And then it'll come back to us with a signed APK, and it'll install that APK on our device. It looks like it's finishing up now. Again, this is not your development workflow. But now we have our released, ready to send to the store app that still counts buttons running on Android. Pick it up and take it away. That was a taste of our developer experience. There's a whole talk on our developer experience after this one. If you want to learn more, there's lots of interesting details there. Let's talk about what we saw, or maybe wasn't all obvious.
One of the things you did see, again, is the fast developer cycle. We're doing sub-second, millisecond measured developer cycle. You got to see a little taste of our functional reactive framework. You can learn a lot more about it at flutter.io. But this is just a modern way to write UIs. The idea is it simplifies the data flow in your application. It's easy for you to understand where the data is going because it always goes from your model to your view. You write that code once. And then, of course, you did get to see a little bit of the to-the-metal nature. We compiled straight to native code on Android. We are, of course, talking to the GPU. It's part of how we get fast. So, but we haven't just been building technology for the last year and a half since we last talked. We also have been actually shipping this technology, but just inside Google. So we are entirely an open source project, but we do know how important it is that we have Google customers. When we talk to externals, they're like, well, what apps at Google are shipping with this? What apps with Google have this on the Play Store? And the answer is there's a lot in progress, but none are shipping today. But we have had close relationships with Google Teams. We've been paving the road right in front of them as they've been building out. We've been working with them to make sure that we're building the right thing, that it's being battle-hardened as we go. And one of the teams that is visiting today, so I can talk about their app a little bit, is the Google CRM. These guys had used Dart already, successfully on the web. They had also built themselves an Android app, natively in Java. And then they came to Flutter because they were not particularly interested in paying to build another team to do an iOS app. They're like, hey, can we take some of our Dart knowledge, our Android familiarity, and just build for mobile? And they did. And they said it took them, less time, fewer engineers, less code. They got 3x the productivity versus their Android build out. And they also, of course, got the other OS for free. So I should tell you that we are still tech preview, and that's for a variety of reasons, but we're not entirely ready for all apps. That's not what I'm here to tell you today. We have very much tested our hypotheses. We know that the hard stuff is done. We're working really on productionization now. All the testing, make sure that all our matrices of devices, et cetera, are all covered. And we do have some big arcs of work left, some of which we've started on. Making sure our accessibility is amazing, making sure our internationalization is amazing, making sure you can develop for Windows, which I suspect many in this audience do. But all of our source is open on GitHub today. You can try Flutter today. You can watch us do development. And of course, there's more to learn about Flutter today. There's not just this talk. There's more about our dev cycle in the next talk. They talk about all the cool stuff that was built in Dart to make Flutter possible at later talks. And you're hearing from one of our customers this afternoon. So I hope you agree that we've made some significant progress since we last talked. There's no more spinning cubes. We're a little past that. I hope that you better understand after this talk how our approach to mobile is different. We're not using OEM widgets. We're doing direct to the metal. And that we believe that this provides us some unique advantages. And I also hope that you understand that even though you don't see it in the wild yet, Flutter is actively at use in Google. There are lots of people writing Flutter code. And you can learn a lot more at flutter.io. So, thank you all very much.